Hello, everybody. Episode 14 of 45 RPNs coming at you from Carmen, Manitoba. And here I am with Ernie Enns, the man who made the name, and Nigel Bart. And we're going to talk about music, collecting, and whatever in between. And, so we're at GPAC, Treaty 1 territory in Carmen, Manitoba, and it's cloudy skies on a Friday night, 5 p.m. And last week we got interrupted because we had a big Hallmark movie being shot here, and it was quite an affair. We had about 100 people in the building all for a whole day, and they were all week they were coming in and out getting prepared, and I met some wonderful people on that crew. So to all those Hallmark crew guys and all the movie guys, all the gaffers and the dressers and the painters and all the guys there, hope you have a wonderful weekend. You did good here, and we enjoyed you having us. So, if that makes sense. So yeah, I was just I'm gonna develop a little theme here, and Ernie's gonna interrogate me.
All right.
For 45 minutes.
Okay, we need to know the theme, I guess. Eh?
Yeah. So the theme here today is it starts with a little story. So I was having the most wonderful time outside at 4 o'clock, waiting for my friend to come around. He's a little guy, goes to school here, and every day after school he comes and we paint. He just wants to paint. He's a little painter, and we go and paint. And today he made this awesome hat. He painted it yesterday, and I was going to deliver it to him, and I was painting something for him as well there. So that's a little painting I was doing. So I was waiting for him. Usually after school around 3:30 he comes, and so anyways, he didn't show up. I believe he probably had some other commitment, and it's Friday night after all. And so as I was out there painting, people were coming along, and I was listening to some music, some tribal beats on my little stereo, my Bluetooth stereo, and people were very friendly. They're coming by, they're waving, saying hello, and and the music and the art and just sitting there and painting, I felt was such a nice way to spend my afternoon. And then a young man came along, and he looked troubled. I'd say he looked very troubled, and I thought, I wonder. And then he came back a few minutes later carrying a paper bag with a bottle in it. And I thought, I felt so bad about that, because I've been down that road, and I know it's a dead end sort of thing, like a really hard road to dig yourself out of. And so then it suddenly got cloudy, and I felt gloomy all of a sudden. And then I saw Ernie, and then I explained the story to Ernie, and he shared my sentiment about the dangers of Friday nights and the feelings of just cutting loose after a hard week, and maybe the girlfriend's been hard on you, or whatever problems you have, and then you just want to cut loose, or the boss or whoever, someone, so. But there's always the next day. I find, like, things pass, even a cloudy sky, a thunderstorm, and sometimes we give up way too quickly, and I'm going to moralize just for a moment and just say that, when things don't go our way immediately, sometimes you just got to wait an extra day, 2 days, 3 days. Sometimes it doesn't come quickly. Like, sometimes our life trajectories have to be fixed up a little bit, but eventually the reward comes. And I just want to share my compassion for those guys out there who are perhaps hurting. So, but and hurting and trying to numb the pain a bit. It happens, and it can be happen innocently enough. So, but all that said, the theme today, I'd say out of all that, I wanted to keep it like upbeat. So, which is not that's not a way to hang it, but I would say like with this thunderstorm coming in, my son's coming in. Ernie and I were gonna play a '60s gig tomorrow,
Oh, yes.
and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just crossing my fingers that the weather stays,
Yeah,
without
so.
pouring rain.
I hope so. Yeah, yeah, me too. I've been looking forward to doing this gig. I mean, we haven't played for like 3 years, really anywhere type thing, and now we're doing a live gig. Practiced up '60s music for a '60s day at the local ice cream place, Seals Drive-In. Gotta plug that.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
It's a great locale, and
yeah,
it's just something that.
yeah. And so we got all our stuff cut. We kind of got it all ready to go. Kind of
Yeah.
last night we went over some stuff, and we all bought our, well, do I call it clothes or costumes? Our '60s clothes.
Yeah, our garb.
So I can hardly wait to see the girls
digs.
in their white high boots.
Oh, those look so cool. Yeah,
So
and
it's,
like uh, it's it's too bad, but we might get rained out.
yeah,
But that doesn't make all our practice worth like
no,
nothing.
no. Our
'Cause,
practices are awesome.
yeah,
And basically that's what you do. We practice every week or play every week for fun, right? That's our hobby, that's our enjoyment,
yeah,
and then once in a while you get a gig, but the practices are still always fun, and the gigs make it a little bit more focused. Like you
yeah,
decide these are the songs you're going to do, and you work on them and you polish them and that sort of thing, and that's a whole lot of fun. But gigs or no gigs, we always play, and it's always great. So there's really nothing lost if we don't play, other than it would have been a lot of fun to do that, right?
yeah. And the anticipation of
Yeah,
like
anticipation.
the gig, whether it's tomorrow or a week or 2 weeks or a month, like the anticipation of that,
Yeah,
is gonna be, if we're rained out tomorrow, there's gonna be so much more impetus to get on
yeah.
stage the next round. So,
Well, I mean, on the other hand, or on the lighter note or whatever,
mm,
we have a gig on Tuesday, and we can use those
wow,
same songs Tuesday,
yeah,
but we're playing inside.
yes,
So that gig is a go. So
that is super good.
yeah,
So,
it's not a long a gig. Like it's an hour gig here. It would have been a 3 hour gig,
yeah,
but yeah. So we still have that to look forward to, and then we have a gig another couple of weeks in the middle of July. We have a gig, and
yeah,
who knows what else is going to come up
so good.
before that.
That
So
is exciting.
yeah,
Yeah, and we were playing, some really good tunes. We're practicing up '60s, and that was the other thing we're going to talk about today. The '60s. I don't know much about the '60s, other than '60s were a time of revolution, and
yeah, yeah,
music came out in the '60s that was. Uh, it challenged a lot of uh, sort of systematic, sort of um, social injustice stuff. Like there was a lot of
yeah, yeah.
anti-war stuff.
Yeah, I guess more towards the end of the decade, right?
Yeah,
As the '60s progressed, and then towards the end of the '60s, it was really a lot of protest songs and stuff like that.
and even um, like women's lib, sort of feminism.
Yeah,
And
all that stuff. Yeah,
like there was a lot of peace.
peace
Yeah,
and love, and all that stuff.
yeah.
And
You think of the decade before the '50s. I mean, rock and roll was just invented, sort of thing. And
yeah, It
So, but
wasn't
it was still straight and square.
straight and
Like
square and a blank page. Really, like
yeah,
back there, nothing had been done before, so everything they did was new and fresh, and they could whatever they did,
yeah,
you know. I mean, was their stuff. It was copyrighted and their stuff, and same as into the '60s, they had a blank page.
yeah.
And by the time we got to the '70s, well, music changed a little bit, but now go and like move forward about 3 or 4 decades,
Hmm.
and now the music, almost every melody or something, well, it's been done already. You know what I'm saying? Like they had in the '50s and '60s, they had a blank page. Whatever they did was new and fresh type thing. So
I don't know. You know what I'm thinking though is that like, I heard this a really neat story about in this is more concerned with visual artists, but there was you know how movements happen in history. Like there was like like Andy Warhol's Pop Age and Expressionism with Jackson Pollock and all these artists like abstraction with Mark Rothko. Like regardless if you know those artists, but the point is that at a certain time music just comes out and certain people take the ownership of it. And I was looking and I heard this story from my good friend Cass, and she said that there was once there was a discovery that there were artists in like the 14th century. There's a female artist in the 14th century who's doing kind of abstract art, which is very unusual
yeah,
for going back like like how many centuries before actually it came out.
right.
My thoughts on the whole picture are that music is just cyclical, like in the, like as well as art. So I think regardless of when something becomes popular in music sort of history or art history, um, the actual trend like history of music is might maybe be like sort of like ongoing. It's not like so when you say a blank page, for example, in the 50s for rock and roll, I have this weird idea that cavemen were trying to make rock and roll and they may have had really good sounds
Yeah,
like with the beating the
beating their
rocks
drums
and
on or
the
beating their
drums,
sticks
yeah.
on stones, and
Yeah, yeah.
who
It's just
knows?
like, yeah.
You know?
So, like, the concept there is that, we don't really know for sure,
No,
but,
no.
but I think, like, obviously, evolution sort of took, like, sounds and stuff changed, like with guitars and amps and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
But I almost think that, in many ways, humans have regressed and maybe we haven't really advanced as much as we think, whether it's music or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. Most of the inventions, happened in the 1900s. Really, like the invention of the electric guitar, the
Mm-hmm,
invention
mm-hmm.
of the solid body guitar, and then effects pedals and all that stuff and all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's a
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
vast thing that we have at our disposal now. And that was
Yeah.
all invented like 50 years ago and less, that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so it's amazing. Well, a little more than that, but
Yeah. Do you like classical music? Do you ever listen to classical or like
do I have one?
do you ever listen to classical?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I have an island string guitar and I play the odd song on it type thing, but
Yeah.
but not really.
Or like folk music is not exactly like there's a lot of folk music that goes way back. Like we're talking like
Yeah.
to like a lot of the roots of folk music go to like the I don't know, like the halfway point between
Yeah, it makes you
like
wonder,
zero
like,
AD and or BC, like the transition when like like historically, the birth of Christ marked the beginning of the millennium. But in the midway point, like somewhere in the early point, there's a great folk music that started and like even like Eastern folk music and all
how,
sorts of folk music
makes you
with
wonder
different
how it would have been
instruments.
handed down over the decades away.
Yeah.
They must have taught it to their kids, and then they
Mm-hmm.
taught it to the kids, and that's just how it. They
Yeah.
had no recording devices. Now we can
Yeah.
record everything to a T and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's I guess interesting thought. Never really thought much about music from centuries ago, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, but recorded music. How far back does recorded music go? Late 1800s.
Probably the 1800s. They had their ways
Yeah,
of capturing
yeah,
an imprint of sound, like through a record thing, a recorder, like it would imprint on a swivel sort of thing. It would capture the
yeah,
vibrations and stuff.
yeah. And the guitars too. I mean, they're I don't know how many centuries old they were invented, but the Martin Guitar Company was started in 1833. So in other words, there was already a huge demand for
Mm-hmm.
mass producing a guitar already in 1833. So who knows what kind of music was they had going on at that time.
Yeah.
And so as far as we know, like when you look at roots music and early recordings, it's all bluesy. It's kind of bluesy,
Yeah.
and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. And
Yeah.
and so it's interesting how
Yeah.
that all happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Never really researched any of that stuff,
it's a lot of like, it's really interesting to me, like, and there's constant hybrids of like different cultures, like mixing their music with not only Western music, which I mean, but all sorts of like Eastern music and like all sorts of different cultures. Just and every time, I don't think there's ever going to be um, a moment in history when we're all sort of like completely heard it all, done it all. Like I think in my limited perspective, I would say that there's always going to be different sounds coming out, and
I imagine.
different ears hearing things. Like I
I
like the
suppose.
music that's coming out now. It's pretty innovative and
Yeah.
unique, and it's just like some of those young rappers, for example, can just like do amazing things vocally. It's like it's
Yeah.
really cool. Um, yeah, but the '60s, like 1960s, we're talking. Do you
Yeah.
have any '60s music here in your collection, or those are the mostly? That's the '70s box.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's all in there actually.
Why don't we
But
peek in your
it's
box?
all been 60s, but yeah, let's see what we got in here. So, we got all kinds of cool stuff. Oh yeah, and this one and this one. We have this one, band out of Winnipeg.
Nice. I think we talked about that one
I
though.
think we mentioned it, but we never really talked about this album. We talked about, or did we? Did
We
we cover
did.
Moonjaw
We
Jaw?
did.
Yeah, maybe we did.
Mujaja in episode 11, probably. I think it was episode 11
Oh,
or
okay.
somewhere around
Well, I
there.
just haven't taken it out of the box yet.
Yeah, that one. That one's. And
Yeah,
I
it's
see it.
yeah,
Also
that's right
see.
too. Because I said it's like the Painter album. It's one and done, but it's good start to finish.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole it's one of those. There's only a few albums like that in the world, in my opinion, and this is one of them.
Yeah,
Abbey
yeah.
Road is one, and Painter is one,
Right,
and
right,
that sort of
right.
thing. So, uh, Bob Seger,
Oh, pull it.
here we go.
Silver bullet, Matt.
Bob Seger and Silver Bullet. This was the very first band, or live concert I ever saw was Bob Seger.
Oh, it's a live
And
album.
yeah, it's a live album, and to be perfectly honest, I like Bob Seger live better than on his studio records.
Yeah,
He's better live.
yeah,
It just sounds better. He's more energy and that
yeah.
sort of thing. So, but what I didn't realize is when I bought this album that it was recorded in Detroit the same week I saw them here in Winnipeg. So this is exactly what I heard. So when I listen to this album, it's like it's exactly what I heard when I was in Winnipeg,
Oh,
because it was all fresh because it was recorded. I can't remember the day I saw them, but it was the same week. This was recorded in 19. Okay, it says live Cobo Hall, Detroit, Michigan, September 4th and 5th, 1975. And in 1975, I went to this concert with my girlfriend. She used to be Sadie Hawkins Day. You know what that is? You
Yeah,
know what that is, right?
I know what that is.
And
Something
a lot of
like
people maybe don't know what it is, but Sadie
explain
Hawkins
it.
Day started probably in the 60s or something like that. And in the
Yeah.
70s, it was still fairly prevalent, I think. But anyway, so this girl took me for a date
Mm.
in September. So it was, I don't remember the day, but it was the same. When I bought this album, I saw it was the same week as this. It was
What year would that have been?
75, 1975.
What year I was born?
Oh,
Yeah,
must
maybe you're my father.
Technically, I
Is
guess
it
I
with-
could have been because I had a girlfriend at that time.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Oh.
no, all joking aside.
Yeah.
Tell
So-
me more about like
Well-
when did Steve? I mean, sorry,
Bob Seger.
Bob Seger.
Bob Seger.
When was his career start? When did it start?
You know, I think he started. I don't know much really about him, other than I love this album and I listened to death
Yeah, yeah.
and but I think the late '60s he already had a song. What was it called? So he was just getting into it in the late '60s, and then of course in the '70s. Oh, I can't remember the name of that song. It's gone. I don't
You
think,
would have been.
I don't think it's on this album.
I remember the old time rock and roll song. That was a late song by Bob Seger.
Yeah. Later on, like he
He had a
actually,
long career.
yeah, he had a fairly long career through the '70s because he had a lot of hits towards in the late '70s. You
Yeah.
know, like Fire Lake
Yeah,
and all stuff like that, and Against the Wind was a big one for
Right,
him,
Against the
and
Wind.
Night Moves,
Nightmare.
and We've Got Tonight.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
epic songs.
those are epic songs, a lot of them. But this album, this is also very good, start to finish. There's a few songs in there maybe, but if you're ever looking for a good live album,
Yeah,
this is definitely one of the better ones.
nice.
And another one would be completely different. Would be ELO. ELO from 2001. He put out he did a live concert. I don't even know if it's on album actually.
Hmm.
You can see a video on it, and that was
Right
really
on.
good too. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I can't think of that song from the '60s. That it was his Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. Ramblin' Gamblin' Man. I think it was out in '69, and that would have been kind of the start of him type thing. And then he chugged along for a few more years, and then all of a sudden in the '70s, mid '70s, he got big. So
Right.
yeah. And that is the story of Bob Seger.
This story about Bob Seger. Must have been around 10 or 11. The video camera came out. Like the old like the really big
Oh, yeah.
VHS cameras. My uncle got one, and I was like, we do this thing called the air band
Oh.
when we were kids, and I was 10 or 11, and so the kids were rocking out to Bob Seger's old time rock and roll song.
Oh yeah,
and it
see
was
that
just
song.
like,
That was one of his big songs
yeah, and there were some great songs that came out at that. That would have been '86 or something, but I
Oh,
remember like
yeah.
Summer of '69 by
too. Brian.
Brian Adams, and I mean the sounds that came out, like sort of the rough voice and the a little bit of distortion and sort of a bluesy rock sound. Like I love that. Bob Seger is one of my heroes for sure.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even that, like the title of his band is just so
Yeah,
awesome.
well,
you know?
yeah. If you listen to that album, if you want to borrow it, you can take it home and listen to it. It's really, really good. And to hear Bob Seger do Nutbush City Limits with Drew Abbott on guitar, and like he's got a really good band.
Yeah.
Those
Oh, he's
guys
so
sound
young
awesome.
in this. I've seen him older, but he's very young.
Yeah, he's pretty young there, I think. And I remember thinking to myself, as this guy started to play, and that's what he started in Winnipeg concert too. He started the same way. He must have had the same set list.
Right.
because he played everything in the same order, is what I heard. Pretty close anyway. And he started with this Nutbush City Limits and the way that thing starts.
Ooh, is it? Did he play with Stevie Ray
I
on
don't
this
know.
album? I'll say Stevie
I,
Ray Vaughan there.
I don't think so. No, he's got
No,
Drew Abbott on guitar.
this dude here.
Yeah, it's
This
Drew
one.
Abbott. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Drew Abbott.
Yeah. And but you know, after they were done, like they were opening for another band.
Yeah.
They were just the opening act. 'Cause I had never heard of them. I heard of this because we had the tickets. I went to the concert. It was a surprise to me. I think is because she took me to this concert without, as a surprise. So this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so when we get there to the concert, I'd never been at one before.
Yeah.
The group that's opening was Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. I'd never heard of them.
Oh.
I'd never heard of them. And for some reason, I don't know, I guess. And when they started to play, I just couldn't believe how good live music was. Like, this is really, I like this,
Yeah.
And when they were done, when Bob Seger was done, you can take it home and listen to it if you want.
Oh, I'll look it up on my
Yeah,
music
you
app.
can find all that stuff on the internet. Because I remember thinking to myself, there's no way the next band is going to be better. Like they were opening for another band, and the band they were opening for was BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh, there it is again.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, there's no way BTO is better than what we just saw. Like that was just crazy good.
Right.
So they tear down, and of course BTO comes on, and these four guys, these BTO, they were the four originals. In '75, I think it was still. Yeah, I don't think Blair Thornton was there yet. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Randy Bachman, Rob Bachman, Tim Bachman, and Fred Turner. I think the
Wow.
original lineup. I think it was.
Wow.
And when they started to play in their concert, they were better than Bob Seger.
Oh,
Which,
wow.
and I thought nobody's ever going to
That's
top
hilarious,
that.
yeah.
But they did. So there's a reason they were the opener, is because BTO was at the top of their game at that time.
Oh, yeah.
The song they had on the hit charts or on the radio at the time was Quick Change Artist.
Oh.
Was the name of the song they had on the charts.
Oh, man.
So, but it was really good.
Yeah.
So, but BTO is one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm known as a Guess Who guy, right?
Yeah.
In one of these podcasts, we should cover the Guess Who.
That's
you
what
know,
I was
like
thinking. I was staring at your hat too. It's a beautiful guess.
Yeah, this hat I got in. This hat I bought in that year right there. 2000.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, in the year 2000, I bought that, and that's what their tour was called, Tour 2000, and they played the what do you call the Can West Stadium?
Yeah.
They played outside the Can West Stadium.
Oh my!
And I think it was four of us went. Me and my wife and friend Jason and Rick. Rick was my wife's boss.
Yeah.
And Jason was a friend of mine. Is a friend of mine still. And so the four of us, we went to this concert at Can West Global Park. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And it was a day kind of like this with the clouds hanging over. And I counted how many times we got wet through a concert. 7 times we got wet.
Oh.
Wet as in it would be a downpour. And it would stop. And it would stop for long enough that you could actually dry off a little bit and you start to feel comfortable. And then it rained again. And then it rained again. So 7 times we got wet, and I was counting. It was like, this is ridiculous. And we're standing. Everybody is standing. It wasn't a seating thing. It was just everybody's in the arena or in that area.
Yeah.
And the band comes on. And finally, we've been wet about 4 or 5 times already, and then the band finally comes on because we went way early. And so, and they're really good. Like you can buy that DVD. It's called Running Back Through Canada, Running Back Through Saskatoon, Running Back Through Canada. You can buy that, and it was filmed. Part of it was filmed in Winnipeg, and part of it was filmed in Toronto. So they did that concert all together, kind of like that. And So they played, and it poured again. It poured, and it eventually got to the point where the lightning was so bad, and we're standing there like sitting ducks, right? Because it's just full of people. You
Yeah.
can't move. There's a sea of people, thousands of people, and you and we're sitting ducks, and this lightning is just going crazy.
Wow.
And so what they did is that they shut the band down because the lightning was getting too strong,
Yeah.
and they moved all the instruments back. So the band took a break. So they're all off stage, and they moved all the equipment back because the wind was blowing the rain in. Like
Oh
Cummings'
wow.
piano was getting wet, and so
Yeah.
while they were taking their break, and their break I remember was like 3/4 of an hour. Like we were wondering,
Yeah.
are they ever coming back? These guys,
Right.
they may get canceled, but they did. They came back,
Yeah.
and then once it quit raining. But while the lightning was going on, or they were doing fireworks in between, so for the crowd.
Oh wow, man.
And it was the most spectacular thing, one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen. I was just thinking to myself, this is surreal, It was like lightning to no end. It was just like we were sitting ducks, and yet it was okay. I was thinking to myself,
Yeah.
with all these people, it's probably not me that's going to get hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is really awesome. And then the fireworks, they were shooting fireworks, and there was lightning. There was fireworks, and there was lightning, and it was just
Wow.
spectacular show. I remember looking that direction, looking to the east. That's where the fireworks was,
Holy.
and it was just awesome. And eventually they did come back on, and it's all on that DVD. And they had a section called the Coffee House, where they toned down the electric guitars, and they had the acoustic guitars, and they played Undone, and they played just soft stuff. And it was just cool, like for BTO, rocking BTO, they could sit down and play a little coffee house for us,
Oh.
or not BTO, but Guess Who? They could do this little coffee house for us.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. And Cummings said little things in between about each song. He says, we'd like to do, this is Gary's favorite song,
Yeah.
the drummer.
Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
played Albert Flasher, I think is
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what was the one. And so,
Very nice.
yeah, it was a great concert, yeah. And that's where I got this hat from. So I wear it very seldom because I want to keep it.
Of course.
The
Yeah,
plastic
yeah.
is still on here from when I bought it.
So cool.
So I wear it very, very seldom. So
Very nice.
yeah, one of these podcasts, what I'll do is I'll bring all my vinyl in, all the Guess Who vinyl in, and I can show you what they had.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is maybe I should save this story for the Guess Who Day, but uh, when I met Bill Wallace,
Yeah.
and I know all their albums pretty good. Uh, and I met Bill Wallace playing in the local bar here, right in town,
Oh.
right here, right beside this
Wow.
building. He played here,
Wow.
and I was one of the few people in Carmen that knew the name Bill Wallace
Right.
because I saw it on the sign. Bill Wallace is coming,
Yeah.
and I don't go to bars, but I went to a bar that night when Bill played,
Yeah.
and I sat with him when he took a break. I went and I sat with him, and I started talking to him,
Yeah.
and he says, our break is over. He says, you going to be here for a while yet? I says, oh yeah, I'm here for the duration. He says, in the next, we'll take a break again. He says, and then we'll finish this conversation. He said, that's what he said to me because we were talking about this Guess Who stuff. And he realized that I knew more about the Guess Who than he did. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but he said he had played bass for the Guess Who the last 4 albums, and I
Oh
said
my
no.
God.
I said it was the last 5 albums.
Oh,
I
nice.
said that's what I said, and he said what 5, and then I named them all.
Nice.
Yo, you're right, he said. So
Oh, that's so
5
cool.
albums, he said.
So good.
And so, anyway, but it was really cool. So I met him in person, and
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, type
That's
thing. So, but yeah, then I can show you all the. That's where I was going with that is because I have all those albums and
That's
what
awesome.
order they're in. I can show you what order they're in and all that. So,
So
Yeah.
good.
but anyway, that's a little sidetrack from Bob Seger here, but
That's exactly. the
yeah, that was an
trajectory it
awesome
had to
concert.
go.
It's still probably my favorite concert I've ever been to is year 2000. This Guess Who concert.
Very
Right there.
good, man.
The music was the sound was absolute perfect. Like it was
Wow.
loud, it was clear, and it was good. Lost energy on stage, and I think they didn't have Jim Cale was there. I think they had uh, how come I can't think of his name? McDougal, Don McDougal. They had him on bass.
Oh yeah.
No, they had Bill Wallace on bass and Don McDougal on guitar. I think that's what it was. They had Bill Wallace on bass.
Wow, man.
So yeah,
That's sweet.
yeah, it
Like
was.
to partake in that historical event. Like just
Yeah,
the
yeah, just to have been.
epic, like the Guess Who are just epic. Like they're such a
Yeah,
good band,
yeah,
and to be like sort of reunion sort of styles like that. What a
yeah.
wonderful way to celebrate
And
their
and if you look at the DVD and you see his piano, like he has a Roland piano,
yeah.
and I remember looking at his piano, and I was close enough that I could read uh, Poland. It didn't say Roland, it said Poland
Oh,
on that piano. And
really?
I remember thinking to myself, that's a weird make. It's a weird make.
Yeah, yeah.
I never heard of a Poland. Never thought much of it,
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
thing. So a few years later, just now, I'm with somebody else, and we went to Morris
Yeah.
for just to play with people. Like it's a few of us went down to these other people that play, and so it was a jam session. We joined in, and at that jam session is this lady Arlene, and she's got this piano, and she said that she had got this piano. She had bought it at such and such a place when but she couldn't pick it up when she bought it because it was already booked for the Guess Who concert. For the Burton Cummings was playing this piano, so you can have it after the concert's over. We'll bring it back. You can take it home. So she told us that story,
Mm.
and so you can believe it if you want, or you don't have to, right? And then she said to me, and when I was talking, and she said this piano was there, and I said, he said, I remember seeing this piano at the concert. I was at the concert. It said Poland. She said there was a piece of black tape on there that covered part of that letter. So it was the same piano. It was
Oh, that's
definitely,
too
it was definitely the
funny.
one that Cummings played.
Yes, yeah,
Is the
yeah.
one that's owned by Arlene right now.
So
Yeah, it
cool.
was really cool.
That's really cool that she has that. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. So
Wow, man.
yeah,
Yeah, what a, what a life we lead, like to see bands like the Guess Who
mm.
live in our lifetime. Like,
I've seen them several times. I have.
even better, man.
I
That's
have.
what a life.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. Um,
yeah.
um,
I saw them in. I don't even know what year it was.
yeah, I'm just hold on, making sure we're still rolling here.
Are we still running?
My phone locked up there. Oh yeah, we're already 40 minutes. So
All right.
I was thinking, we're hopping tonight with the Guess Who, and
Yeah.
like I really as I get older too, I think of the Guess Who, and like when I was young, like when you're young and you listen to music, often you don't listen to the lyrics, you don't understand the lyrics, you don't.
No, I
And
don't.
life's such an awesome way to, like, as you mature, gain a little wisdom. Hopefully in life, you like music that's been recorded is something you can, like, yourself. You're a highly cultivated music connoisseur, so you're sort of like I'd consider you a fine wine sort of musical uh, sort of, well, you're a collector but musical connoisseur, like like you're refined in a way with music that is really cool. And when I was getting at was that, like, when we're young, we usually pick a sound in our ears gravitate to a sound, like, and
What causes that? What causes a
good
certain?
point, what is
I've
that?
thought about that. Is what causes me to like these songs, and the next
Yeah.
person likes these songs,
Or
and it's
even more so, the question would be like, what causes a whole bunch of people to like a sound That's
I don't know.
like that the BTO or the Guess Who
Yeah,
we're talking lots of people love that sound, and why?
yeah.
Why do they
Neil
like it
Young.
over top? And Neil Young,
He one
why?
guitar, one voice, and he is like world famous, big time.
Yeah, and why
And
do people
why?
gravitate to it so like?
That is very
It's
interesting.
really
Yeah.
interesting thought. I know I remember reading Motorcycle Diaries. No, uh, Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and he was saying that he went on a big, huge story about quality and art and music and everything, and the same argument, like or same topic, like what makes something people like something in general, like what does it? It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer,
I don't
but
know.
something to think about. Like, why do certain bands climb to the top, and why do other bands just not get heard? And
Yeah.
regardless of their whatever their wealth or their production, like
Yeah, yeah. There's always a little politics involved, but I mean, essentially, you're right. You know, what?
it's
Yeah.
really interesting thought.
And all music is just a sound in the air that enters your ear. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's just vibration that
yeah,
enters your ear. Why is it so?
yeah,
But it is. I mean, there are songs out there I absolutely just love. I can listen to them over and over and over again.
yeah,
And why? Like, why do I love certain songs? I don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah. Interesting thought. Um, this is kind of like art, I think of visual art, and like there are a lot of techniques that people don't even know about that I use in art that people just like they don't understand that how scientific like making a painting is, for example, and people
yeah,
don't realize like
yeah,
all the choices I make that make their eyes happy sometimes, in a painting,
yeah,
like similar style. Like I think there's musicians have lots of tools that certain chord progressions, very scientific to get a certain sound that makes your ears happy, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I was just, I don't know if it's on that same topic or not, but to make your ears happy, I was listening to that the guitar riff on. Right, well, no, I read up on a little bit on the guitar riff on Last Train to Clarksville, because
Oh,
that guitar riff is what actually got me hooked on to guitar in the first place. Like
yeah,
I started playing guitar, it was just like just a kind of a little boring thing I did, but when I heard that guitar riff
yeah,
on Last Train to Clarksville, so what did that thing do to me
yeah,
to capture me for a lifetime, of guitar
yeah,
playing?
yeah, yeah,
And I read up on that song
yeah,
itself, and it was basically none of the monkeys playing on it, and
uh-huh.
none of the monkeys play on that song.
Yeah,
Mickey Dolenz, the
yeah,
drummer, sings. He actually sings the song,
yeah,
and uh, and it was their first hit. The first monkey song was Last Train to Clarksville, and how it got its name and all that, and it talked
yeah.
about all that stuff. And the guy that ended up playing that riff was a guy by the name of Louis Shelton.
Oh,
They bring in all these, they try in all
studio
these
musicians.
studio musicians. It was the Wrecking
Yeah,
Crew and that bunch, like
yeah,
Glenn
yeah,
Campbell and Hal Blaine and all those different Wrecking Crew people. They
yeah,
called them Wrecking Crew because the bands uh, didn't play their own music. A lot of
yeah,
bands back
yeah,
then, the producers wouldn't let them play.
yeah,
You guys sing, you guys wrote the song, you guys sing, but these guys are going to do the music for you.
mm-hmm.
And because these were professional studio guys.
Yeah,
So anyway, they brought these guys in. This Louis Shelton, he's supposed to do the beginning of this song, and what he does is so simple.
yeah.
It's nothing really but try to play it.
Oh, yeah,
Try to play it, and so it took like I think I have mastered it. I think I have.
yeah,
But if I would talk to another guitar player, he might say, "No, you haven't got it yet." So, and I would honor that.
yeah,
And so, but I think I haven't. But
yeah,
I played guitar and for a lot of years because of what that guitar riff did to me.
yeah,
So there is definitely something about certain sounds or tones or whatever that can grab a person, and that
Yeah,
you know, it was that song. And so I hope I get to do that song tomorrow.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope it
yeah,
doesn't
for
rain.
sure, for sure.
You know.
Yeah, that'd be so nice to come full circle there and give her
Yeah.
on
Yeah, it would be.
Last Train.
Last train to Clarksville,
Yeah.
and it's actually a protest song. It's an anti-war song.
Is it?
Apparently,
Wow.
yeah. I was reading up on it, and it's about, and I don't believe I'm ever coming home.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so when I read up on it, and then there was comments that people had about it and that sort of thing, and so
Yeah.
some people say no, that's not true,
Yeah.
because there was it was a time of protest. So the songwriters, uh, Boyce and Hart, Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart,
Mhm.
wrote this song, and at the time when they wrote that song, and it became a hit, and the popular thing at that time was protest songs.
Yeah.
So they just said, yes, this is a protest song.
Oh.
So I read comments about that. Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's super cool though.
But
Like that. You know, I always think like the more we find out about certain songs and artists, and you know, it always enriches our lives, and there's a lot of inquisitive, like the curiosity is such an awesome thing, like for humans to have curiosity and just follow their, and you know, follow what they kind of like, and just to look for things that interest them. Like I think our lives would be so dull without a sense of curiosity. Like that's a blessing to have
well,
curiosity.
this is always my advice to anybody: is don't do drugs, play guitar, and you can be high all the time.
That's right. That's right. And I think it goes back to the intro where I was saying, you know, I was having such a good time painting, and then I saw this poor dude walking down the street with a bottle. So
I know.
remember exactly what Ernie said, and take your vitamins too. That's it. We are done. We've gone 2 minutes over. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and that was 45 RPNs, episode 14, lucky 14. So
Keep on rocking.
keep on rocking in the free world.